Dubbed as the most dangerous cult in the world, their apocalyptic beliefs and alleged connections to some of the 20th century's most notorious figures have sparked fear and fascination alike. Join us as we delve deep into the origins, rituals, and lasting impact of this mysterious group, and uncover why their controversial legacy continues to resonate in the world of cults and secret societies. Stay tuned, because what you're about to discover is truly beyond belief. The Process Church of the Final Judgement emerged in 1966 and disbanded in the 1970s. Founded by British couple Mary Ann MacLean and Robert De Grimston, it gained traction in the late 1960s and early 1970s, spreading its practices across the United Kingdom and the United States. Often characterized as espousing a neo-Gnostic theology, the Process Church had its roots in the Church of Scientology, where MacLean and De Grimston initially met in the early 1960s. After their departure from Scientology and subsequent marriage, they formed Compulsions Analysis, a brief splinter group that integrated new religious elements. This eventually evolved into the Process Church, officially established in London in 1966. Initially headquartered in a commune in Mayfair, West London, the group later relocated to Xtul in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. They eventually established a presence in the United States, particularly in New Orleans. The Process Church's reputation suffered when prosecutors investigating the Manson family murders in 1969 hinted at potential ties between Charles Manson and the group, though these connections remained unproven. Following the separation of MacLean and De Grimston in 1974, attempts were made to sustain the group under De Grimston's leadership, albeit with limited success, leading to its dissolution in 1979. MacLean retained the loyalty of the majority of church members, subsequently reforming the group as the Foundation Church of the Millennium and various other iterations with a renewed focus on Christian faith. In 1982, the Foundation Faith of God relocated to Utah, where it established an animal rescue refuge in Kanab. Born in 1931 in Glasgow, Mary Ann MacLean's early life was marked by various experiences, including a stint in the United States, rumored connections with boxer Sugar Ray Robinson, and employment as a high-end escort in London, catering to influential figures in British business and politics. Robert Moore, born in Shanghai in 1935, moved to Britain during his infancy. Serving in the cavalry from 1954 to 1958, Moore's early years were defined by his military service. MacLean's journey led her to Scientology, where she became an auditor at the London branch. It was here that she crossed paths with Moore in 1962, marking the beginning of their relationship. Together they established Compulsions Analysis, a venture combining Scientology techniques with the psychological theories of Alfred Adler. Financial support from a lawyer friend facilitated the launch of this endeavor. During this period, Moore adopted the name Robert De Grimston. De Grimston delineated Compulsions Analysis from Scientology by emphasizing practicality over lofty promises, asserting that their aim was to enhance daily living rather than bestow supernatural abilities. In 1966, the clientele of Compulsions Analysis coalesced into a new entity, the Process, which assumed a more spiritual dimension. By March of that year, 25 members of the Process had settled into a commune at 2 Balfour Place in Mayfair, an upscale neighbourhood in London's West End. In May, they departed London, eventually relocating to a remote area. By June 23rd, approximately 30 members, accompanied by their 6 Alsatian dogs, had migrated to Nassau in the Bahamas. Their quest for a permanent settlement led them to Mexico City in September of that same year. Procuring an old bus, they embarked on a journey across the Yucatan Peninsula in search of a suitable locale. They stumbled upon a site called Xtul, interpreted as the end in the Mayan language, which they interpreted as an auspicious sign. Despite initial attempts to establish a community, opposition from locals and concerned parents of church members who sought legal intervention thwarted their efforts. A hierarchical structure emerged within the group, with the De Grimstons at the helm, referred to as the Omega, followed by masters, priests, prophets, and messengers. Their settlement was short-lived, as a tropical hurricane ravaged the area, prompting the majority of followers, including the De Grimstons, to depart. Nonetheless, the Extool experience left an indelible mark on the mythology of the Process Church, resulting in a significant schism within the group between those who experienced Extool and those who did not. By November 1966, the majority of Process members had returned to London. Over the following year and into 1967, the group transitioned into operating as a church, adopting an increasingly evangelistic approach aimed at expanding its membership base. Establishing a presence, they inaugurated a library and an all-night coffee shop known as Satan's Cavern. Additionally, they initiated the publication of a magazine titled The Common Market, later rebranded as The Process. Their activities garnered attention from notable figures in the music and film industries, including Marianne Faithfull. During the early 1970s, sociologist William Sims Bainbridge conducted an extensive study of the group, providing a detailed examination of its operations. Between 1967 and 1968, the De Grimstons traveled to East Asia, the United States, Germany, and Italy to spread their message. Their travels included a visit to the ruins of the Abbey of Thelema in Cefalù, Italy, established in the 1920s by British occultist Aleister Crowley. From late 1968 onwards, their focus shifted primarily to the United States, where the church established chapters in numerous cities, notably New Orleans, where remnants of the Extool colony settled. Additional chapters emerged in European cities such as Munich, Rome, and London. During the early 1970s, the church expanded further, establishing its largest chapter in Toronto, Canada. At its peak, the Process Church boasted a few hundred active members. The beliefs of the Process Church have been characterized as a form of neo-Gnostic theology. During the initial phase of the group's ideology, Moore and MacLean propagated the belief in a single supreme divinity, God. The group's focus centered on transforming aspects of human nature that opposed God's will. Many of the group's therapeutic techniques, termed processes, and principles were adapted from Scientology, including the concept of processing. These therapy sessions involved the use of an electronic meter known as the P-scope, modeled after Scientology's E-meter. In 1967, Moore introduced the concept of four divinities to the group's beliefs. The Process Church preached the existence of four gods, conceptualized not as literal beings, but as inner facets of human personality. Consequently, these deities were not objects of worship. Drawing from traditional Judeo-Christian theology, they were named Jehovah, Lucifer, Satan, and Christ, collectively referred to as the great gods of the universe. The church elucidated that Jehovah symbolizes strength, Lucifer represents light, Satan embodies separation, and Christ signifies unification. Each member was instructed to align with the god or gods that resonated most with them, as individuals were perceived as combinations of two of these deities. The church maintained that an individual's personality and relationships could be understood by identifying the gods they embodied. Moore identified himself as a fusion of Luciferian and Christian qualities, while MacLean identified with Jehovan and Satanic traits. None of the deities were viewed as malevolent, rather they represented fundamental aspects of human reality. Moore posited that the true devil was humanity itself, or the grey forces, symbolizing the compromise and conformity prevalent among the masses. Aligned with its name, the Process Church espoused a form of millennialism where the four distinct aspects of human reality would merge in these end times. This to me is extremely odd, given that the cult espoused that they did not believe in divine entities but still held that there would be end times brought about by those entities at the end of the millennium. This in turn leads me to speculate that there was a more sinister, satanic aspect of this cult that they kept hidden from outsiders. Moore interpreted Christ's instruction to love one's enemies as symbolic of the reconciliation of opposites, where Christ's adversary was Satan, and the reuniting of the gods would be achieved through love. The Process Church became entwined with tales of ritual sacrifices as well as links to serial killings and mass murders. Rumors regarding sacrifices of Alsatian dogs around San Francisco, linking these acts to the Process Church, known to keep Alsatians as pets. However, due to a lack of evidence, no charges were brought against the Process Church. During the investigation of the Tate LaBianca murders perpetrated by members of the Manson family, law enforcement officials explored potential ties between Manson and the Process Church. Vincent Bugliosi, the prosecutor in the Manson trial, inquired about Manson's acquaintance with Moore, to which Manson cryptically responded, "You're looking at him. Moore and I are one and the same." Subsequently, 2 church members visited Bugliosi to disavow any association between their group and Manson or his family. Bugliosi's records indicate that Manson was visited again by the same members the following day. In 1971, the church included a brief article on Manson in its death issue, whilst also featuring an essay by Manson. Bugliosi speculated in his book Helter Skelter that Manson might have drawn philosophical inspiration from the Process Church, though no verifiable connection between the two was ever established. Nevertheless, the Process Church's reputation suffered due to this association, resulting in a decline in donations and instances of public harassment toward its members. To reshape its public image, the church leaders minimized their association with black garments and Alsatian dogs, and presented a gentler interpretation of their doctrine to mitigate perceived satanic connotations. In 1972, Ed Sanders alleged in his book The Family that Manson had been a Process Church member, citing Manson's proximity to the church's San Francisco location. Subsequently, the church pursued legal action against Sanders and his publisher, retracting the allegation from future editions of The Family. Similar legal action was taken against the book's British publisher, though the outcome favored the publisher. By the late 1970s, amidst the church's dissolution, anti-Satanist literature commonly linked Manson to the group, propagating the claims of blood sacrifices. Daniel Logan's America Bewitched and Maury Terry's The Ultimate Evil perpetuated these sensationalistic narratives, with Terry alleging a grand satanic conspiracy involving the Process Church. Members of the LaRouche movement endorsed claims of the Process Church's involvement in a broader satanic conspiracy and various criminal activities, including links with the CIA. William S. Bainbridge provided an insider's perspective on the Process Church in his book Satan's Power. As a sociologist, Bainbridge conducted extensive fieldwork with the Process Church, offering valuable insights into its history and inner workings. His study was pseudonymously presented to protect identities, provided a nuanced perspective on the group. However, its reliability can be questioned given Bainbridge's long association with the group and the possibility of him having gone native. Maury Terry, the journalist prominently featured in Netflix's Sons of Sam documentary series, maintained that the New York branch of the Process Church initiated a satanic cult known as the Children. Terry asserted that a number of cult members were responsible for the Son of Sam killings. During a 1997 interview, Berkowitz discussed his association with the Process Church and claimed that the Children were active in Untermeyer Park in Yonkers. He informed Terry that he had participated in ceremonies subsequent to meeting members of the Process Church. As depicted in the Netflix documentary The Sons of Sam, Terry visited Untermeyer Park, where he encountered sacrificial animals, blood, and satanic symbols adorning the walls of abandoned structures. During his interview with Terry, Berkowitz reflected, stating, "Upon reflection of what transpired, I realize now that I was being introduced into the occult, into Satanism. It was a gradual, systematic process of recruitment. Their ideology revolved around fomenting conflict, and they espoused the belief that the world would meet its end around the year 2000. They propagated the notion that Jehovah, Lucifer, and Satan were collaborating to instigate catastrophic events. In accordance with this belief, they aligned themselves with Satan to sow chaos. Nevertheless, the purported connection between the Process, the Children, and the Son of Sam killings remains unverified by concrete evidence or legal proceedings. However, It is worth pondering that if David Berkowitz's allegations are true, then that the Process Church and its offshoot, the Children, may have morphed into the Order of the Nine Angles, which has similar beliefs to those stated by Berkowitz to have been espoused during the contacts he had with these cults. The communal lifestyle of church members adhered to strict regulations. Within the group, limitations were placed on sexual activity and the consumption of drugs and alcohol, with the exception of caffeine and nicotine, as these were deemed distractions from spiritual pursuits. In contrast to other satanic organizations of the era, the Process Church abstained from practicing magic and vehemently opposed vivisection. Public rituals resembling Christian ceremonies, including baptisms, marriages, and a weekly gathering known as the Sabbath Assembly, were integral to the church's practices. Baptisms occurred at each level of the church's hierarchy. During assemblies, members reverently sang hymns dedicated to the four deities. The group adopted a swastika-like emblem known as the P sign as its symbol. Comprising four superimposed P letters, it symbolized the trumpets of the four great gods. Additionally, a second symbol, the sign of the union, featuring the letter Alpha inside the letter Omega, was utilized by the group, representing the union of male Lucifer with female Jehovah. The relationship between MacLean and De Grimston became strained over time. De Grimston initiated a romantic involvement with Morgana, a younger woman who later became his third wife. Additionally, they disagreed on the trajectory of the Process Church, while MacLean advocated declaring the satanic phase over and transitioning to a Christian phase. De Grimston dissented. Their differences culminated in separation in 1974. De Grimston departed with a minority of group members, intending to perpetuate the Process Church in its original form. However, he abandoned this endeavor in 1979 and ended up taking an office day job in Staten Island, New York, under his birth name, Robert Moore. The majority of the church's members remained loyal to MacLean. She rebranded the church as the Foundation Church of the Millennium, which evolved into the Foundation Faith of the Millennium in 1977, and subsequently into the Foundation Faith of God in 1980, commonly referred to as the Foundation. The group positioned itself as a Christian church, requiring adherence to beliefs in the Trinity, the divinity of Jesus Christ, and his second coming. Embracing a healing ministry influenced by Pentecostalism, membership was structured hierarchically, overseen by a 9-member council of luminaries. Timothy Willey, a long-standing church member, served as MacLean's primary collaborator. In 1977, Willey established a group called the Unit in New York City, which he considered part of the Foundation. MacLean contested this move and sued Willey, albeit unsuccessfully. The unit disbanded shortly afterward, leading Willey to pursue an independent path in the New Age sphere, focusing on communication with extraterrestrials, angels, and dolphins. Legend has it that Willey was also the person who first introduced the Beatles to LSD. In 1982, the Foundation Faith of God relocated to Utah, establishing an animal rescue sanctuary in Kanab. By 1993, the organization rebranded as the Best Friends Animal Society, expunging all religious references from its charter. Following MacLean's demise in 2005, management of her charitable endeavors passed to her second husband, Gabriel DePire, a former member of the Foundation Faith of God Church. Thanks for taking the time to watch our video, and we sincerely hope you enjoyed this fascinating story. If you liked this, then why not check out one of our other videos? Until next time, take care, God bless, and bye for now.